Karibuni tena, you're welcome, bienvenue. So today we are talking visa issues and my experiences getting a visa, if that information may be of help to anybody out there who would like to come to Canada as a student, or who have like a nephew, a relative, a brother, an uncle, a shosh who wants to be a student in Canada. So yeah, you're welcome. So you can grab your tea, grab coffee. So we're going to talk about students permit in Canada. And before I get into the video, I just want to put it out there that I'm talking on my experiences, what I went through when I was doing this, and I'm not representing anybody, or I'm not talking on behalf of anybody. And you guys can confirm or refer to the Canadian Embassy's website for more information. So I'm just here to talk about my experience, if that can be of help to anybody out there. Yeah, so we're going to group them into three categories, or rather we're going to classify the whole process into three major classifications. That is the pre-application phase, the application phase, and the post-application phase. So on to the first phase, which is the pre-application phase. Here you need to find a university. So again, there's so many universities in Canada and all over the world. So depending on the course you want to do, just Google universities offering the courses you want to undertake over here. Then have a minimum of like 5 universities. So once you have like 5 universities, and I'm saying a minimum of 5 universities because different universities have different requirements, and because of that, if you have like 2 or 1, it will limit you, because some of them ask for more requirements or documentation than others. So it's just good to have like a variety. Again, some of them are in the city, some of them are in the suburbs. So again, depending on your needs, or whether you want to study in the village or in the city. Again, the ones in the city are really on demand. So again, it's not impossible to get a place there, but it's competitive, right? So that's why I'm telling you, you need to actually have like a minimum of 5 just to widen your scope. Now, I put some of the stuff I want to talk about on paper, so when I look down here, I'm just referring so that I give the right information. Cool? Perfect? Alright, so the pre-application process, get a university. Once you get a university, apply. Okay? Now, application process, it can be like done in 2 major ways. You can do it directly online, or you can use an agent. So there are universities that have got agents in Kenya. Some of them are free, some of them charge some money, so it depends. So you can go to an agent and they will help you with the application process. Majorly what they do is they take your documents, they scan them for you, and they apply for you. As simple as that. Something that you can do on your own. Or rather, you could just use your computer and internet and scan all your documents and have it somewhere in a folder in your computer, and then you apply yourself. Okay, I would advise if you can do it yourself, the better, because you are in direct contact with the university. If there's something challenging, you can always send an email or even call the university and get response, and they're so responsive. I did it myself. You can too. Anyways, the people who are busy, or the people who are lazy, or the people who just don't want to do things on their own, you can use an agent if you wish. So whichever works for you, that's still okay. So once you apply to a university, normally it takes between 4 weeks to 8 weeks. Again, it could be more, but most of the universities take between 4 and 8 weeks to get feedback. So after waiting for this period, then depending on your outcome, either they have accepted you or they have not accepted you, right? So before you apply, always make sure that you meet all the requirements. Because if you miss even one requirement, it's obvious that they will not accept it. They're so strict. So if it is English test, make sure you've done it and you have it. Or if you don't want to do it, look for universities that do not require that university. So once you get a place, they'll send you a conditional letter of acceptance. So I call it conditional. Why? Because at this point you have not paid fee, especially the first year's fee. So a requirement is that once they have accepted you, then you're supposed to you're supposed to pay for the first semester's fee. So again, this varies from university to university. Some of them need like just a percentage of the semester's fee. Some of them need a whole semester fee. So once you pay this fee, again, they'll tell you how to pay it. You could do it through bank-to-bank transfers, SWIFT transfers, and all that. So that is not something really out of this world to do. So after you have done that, then they will send you an unconditional letter. Now, this non-conditional letter is what you will use together with other documents to apply for a visa. Now, the conditional letter too, you can use it to apply, but this means that the embassy will really be keen on your statement to check if you actually have enough that will be able to really pay for the fee and also take care of yourself while you're in Canada. Phase 2 is now the chunk, the heartbeat of this whole process. And when you go wrong there, then you don't get a visa, and that means that you don't get to come to Canada, right? So I didn't mention in the pre-application phase, normally it ranges, the application fee is non-refundable. It ranges from 8,000 Kenya shillings onwards. It can be up to 20,000 depending on the university, but most university it is between 8,000 and 15,000 on the higher side. So again, once you pay this fee, it is non-refundable. Just have some money in your visa card. So when you're applying, the last thing will be to pay for the application fee, enter the figure, and it automatically cuts from your bank. So once we have the non-conditional letter, now we need to gather documentation that we are going to take to the embassy. Okay, so documentation, some of the major and the main documents that you need, I'll actually mention them here. The first one is your application form, the student's application form. That one you have to download, fill it, and sign. You also need a family information form. Family information form majorly just like you indicate who your family members are. If you're married, your husband, your children. If you're not married, your siblings and your parents. Okay, and what they do and their addresses, I think, and their phone numbers. So that is the family information form. You also need a custodian declaration. Now, this one is not mandatory. This is just for the underage kids. Okay, so if you're under 18, you need a custodian declaration. You also need a document checklist. Now, a document checklist is just like a list of documents that are required by the embassy. So you take it, once you have all the documents, you take against the documents that you have. And then you also have visa office instructions. The visa office instructions is just a form giving you instructions on what to do, which forms to fill and all that. It's more or less the same as the checklist, but this one gives you more instructions on how to do it. Make sense? I hope. Yeah, together with that, there's also another document that is use of representative. So if you want to use a representative to either take or deliver or pick your documents from or to the embassy, then you can use a representative, and you have to fill their names, their address, and all that, and sign, and also together with those documents you take them there. So those are the major documents that it's like the mandatory kind of documents that you need to fill. Other than that, of course, you need a passport. You also need a letter of acceptance, the university's letter of access, the non-conditional letter I talked about. You need a 6-month bank statement showing that you have enough money to take care of you at least for the first 1 year. Normally it is 1 million. Again, depends on the level of studies you're coming to do over here, but majorly it's 1 million. Check and confirm with the website if sometimes it can change, these things change, but a minimum of 1 million. So 6-month statement. I would give you an advice on that. So if you want to apply, don't wait until 6 months into the period of application and then you put a whole lot of money in your bank. It will not work. Now, it has been working for some time for some people. Again, if you're lucky, it will work for you. But some of these immigration officers are very keen. What they will do is they will check. That's why they're looking for a 6 month. They want to look at the consistency of the statement. Is this money that was just put there for the purpose of applying? So they're clever guys. They're catching up with us. So it is very, very advisable not to put a large chunk of money, especially within the last 6 months. So if you start early, a year early, if you know you want to put money there, put it before 6 months, because by the time you're printing this 6 month statement, then and then also if you want to put it like in beads so that the consistency is there. That's why majorly, apart from just looking the amount that is in the statement, they normally look for consistency of the statement. Another document is letter from the employer. This is if you're employed, so you need your employer to write a letter showing that you are working there, and the amount you're earning and all that. And also, other than that, you also need a leave letter, especially if you're employed. Again, letter showing that you will be on the leave for this period. You will be studying in Canada. If you're not and you have a business, you can consider getting a business registration certificate. Other than that, you need a marriage certificate if you're married. If you're single, don't worry, don't bother. Tuko pamoja. I'm also in that category. Also, you need a birth certificate if you have a child, showing that they are your own. You also need a statement of purpose. This is another major one. So statement of purpose is just like a motivation statement that you write to the embassy, showing what motivates you to go and study in Canada, and specifically in this university. So this statement, you need to be creative. So some people are always very creative and very artistic, but forgetting the practicality of the whole thing. So in as much as you really want to be artistic and creative, also make sure that you're practical and you're drawing, you're making it as practical and as applicable to you as possible based on your achievements, your certifications and all that. Statement of purpose. You also need a consent letter from your parent or your sponsor. So you need, so if it is your parents sponsoring you, then you need a consent from them. If it's not your parent sponsoring you, maybe an uncle or a brother or any other relative, then you need a letter from your parents showing that they are your parent and they have allowed you to come and study in Canada. And then a letter from the sponsor that indicating that they will actually take care of your expenses while you're abroad. So you need those letters. And then you need any other document. So guys, we are here, we are proving that we are worth being given or being considered for the study permit. So any other document that you feel will actually increase your chances of getting the permit, why not? So in this case, any other document could include a logbook if you have a car, or a title deed if you own a property or land somewhere, or that of your sponsor. Okay, that will really increase your chances of getting it. Not mandatory, but it is important. Once you get all this documentation, then you take them to the embassy. So again, in Kenya, the embassy, you don't take them directly to the embassy. The Canadian High Commission have got a third party, rather an agent, that collects all these documents and submit them to the embassy. So there's no direct contact with the embassy. And what happens is that you take them to VFS. VFS is in Parkfield building in Westlands, I guess. So you take them there and they will take your biometrics. Again, biometrics is something they introduced recently, so you will need to pay more for the biometrics other than the application fee that you needed to pay. Normally, it takes 3 to 4 weeks waiting. So remember the pre-application where you're waiting for a university to get to you, you are actually waiting for between 3 and 8 weeks. And then now after you have submitted your application documents, then you wait for another 3 to 4 weeks, depending also on the amount of applications the High Commission has received within that period. So sometimes they're overwhelmed, and so they take a little bit much longer. So now after 3 to 4 weeks, there's another process that we need to go to before we get to post-application, which is the medical test. So for you to be given a study permit, you have to go through some medical tests. So some people do the medical test prior to submitting these documents to VFS. Okay, that is still acceptable. You can do it, because also the medical test can take time, you guys. It can take time. So again, it depends on the availability of appointment dates. Like you have to book for an appointment with a clinic, because the clinic is only one in Kenya. There's no clinic in Somalia, so all Somalis come to Nairobi for that same clinic. Or sometimes there could be so many people, and the clinic don't just serve the Canadian embassy, they also serve the Australian embassy, the UK embassy, the American embassy, right? So there could be so many people at this time. Most of the time it's always full anyways. So again, depending on availability, also these can take so much time. So again, I don't want to put a timeline on this, because it depends, because there's some tests that will need further investigations, which could take months. But if you're okay, you're clean, I mean, you don't have anything that would worry the embassy, then it's something that should take between 2 to 3 weeks, and then you get your results. They send it directly to the embassy. They send you a copy. So yeah, this medical test, as I said, you can do it earlier, but the problem earlier or before you take your documents to the visa application center, which is VFS. So you can do it earlier, but the only challenge with doing it earlier is that, you know, like, it's not for free. It's so expensive. It's around 25-ish thousand shillings. So that means if you do it before taking your documents to the embassy, and the embassy denies your application, then you lose 24,000 together with the application fee and the biometrics fee. That's a lot of money. Yeah, we are talking something to do with around 40k or slightly less. Yeah, so it's always just good to take your documents first, and then the only time the embassy will ask you for medical tests is when they have looked at your documents and they feel like you have met all the requirements other than the medical. So that's when they ask you to go for medical test, and that makes sense, because that means that your papers have been accepted as it is. So they're only waiting for the medical results to make the final seal or the final deal. Got it? And at this point, most of the time you're going to get the visa unless you fail in the medical test, right? So it's, for me, I always just like being safe, so that you know, you don't miss a visa and you also don't use a lot of money and all that. You know, these embassies, sometimes they can just create something. So I would advise that you take your documents, and then once you get an okay from the embassy that you should, actually they will write you an email requesting for medical test. That's when now you can go ahead and do the medical test. However, the people who feel like they just want to go before, that's okay. Or rather, you can just go to your doctor and ask them to screen you, so that you know, so that you go prior, because that will save time for you, right? So whichever way you choose to go, whichever works best for you, go for it. So medical test, I felt obliged to probably state what they test. So they test for HIV, syphilis, they do an x-ray, a chest x-ray, they also do physical examination. This is not to say that if you have any of the mentioned illnesses, then you are not going to be allowed to go to Canada. I don't think so. Again, check their website and check the medical test section and see why they're asking for these tests. But I think they're doing it so that they see if you're going to be really of a public risk when you go to Canada. If you're going to be a risk to their citizens, then they won't let you in. Or rather, if you're going to make their government really incur so much in trying to treat you, then again, they will deny you. I'm sorry. But does not mean that when you have any of those illnesses, then you cannot go and study to Canada. It doesn't mean so. So again, refer to their website for more information about that. So you have done the test, you have passed. Well done. You have passed. So what's next after that? So these results are automatically sent to the embassy, a copy sent to you. And then it takes another 1 week or 2 weeks trying just to process the medical test and also your study visa. Yeah, and then the embassy emails you that your visa is now ready. You can collect it from the Visa Application Center, which is VFS in Parkfield building in Westland. So you go smiling, pick your passport with the study permit on it, and you're done. You can come to Canada. Welcome to Canada. They actually give you a letter stating that now you can go to Canada. Welcome to Canada. Right? There's a letter they send you on email. Keep it. Don't lose it. There's also a letter they put in between your passport that you need to show the immigration once you arrive in Canada. So also that one, and print the one that they send you on email. Make sure you have them together with your transcripts, your official transcript, and don't check them in. Just carry them in your carry-on. Sorry, you can put them in your carry-on. So it is important to know that. So if you have any questions regarding students' permit to Canada, let me know. I will do another video on now after you have arrived in Canada. What are you supposed to do? What next? You have arrived. See you in my next video for all that. If you have any questions, just comment down below so that I can be able to respond to those questions. If you need any help, just let me know. I'm here to help you. Okay, most importantly, go to the website and check out updates, because they normally do updates on the website so that you're just updated on what's happening. Yeah, otherwise asanteni, thank you, Maxi, erokamano. So until next time, over.